Now, what are the various applications of this concept of pressure in our daily life? So, let us look into some examples. All kind of cutting tools that we use, whether it's a knife or whether it's an axe, you can look into a saw. So you see all this kind of cutting devices, each of them has got the specific applications. Each of these cutting devices, they have got very sharp edges, whether it's the knife, whether it's the saw. As per their various applications, they have very sharp edges. So what does sharp edge means? Sharp edge basically means less area. So the sharper an edge is, the lesser the area is. And we know that if area is decreased, what happens? Pressure increases. As a result, with this kind of tools, we can easily cut whatever we are wishing to cut. So if you are trying to cut, say, a slice of butter with a knife, then since the knife has a very sharp edges, just by applying a small force, because of this less area, you are managed to put up a lot of pressure. As a result, you can easily cut it. So this was a case where the higher pressure helped us. But there are also certain cases where it's beneficial to minimize the pressure. If you look into the picture of dams, you can go into Google and look into any real life picture of dam. You will find that the base of the dam is always much more thicker than the upper portion of the dam. Say there is a river on this side of the dam whose water the dam is holding, and on this side there are other lands where time to time, as per proper regulation, this water is released. So what happens, you will find in the real life structures of dams that near the lower portion, the thickness of the dam is much greater than that in the upper portion. Why? By increasing the thickness, you are increasing the area of the dam in this lower portion. As a result, the force which the water is exerting on the dam here, it does not manage to create enough pressure in order to break the dam and move past it. Since this dam has got a greater area because of the thicker base, it can withstand the pressure due to the water. You will also study about one of the laws of liquid pressure, where it will be mentioned that the pressure exerted by a liquid column increases with depth. So that is another reason why dams have such broad bases. What are some other examples of minimizing pressure? Look at tall buildings. Most of the tall buildings, they have a very wide base. Often we cannot see it because it is below the ground, but it has got a very wide base. The purpose is, by increasing the area, whatever force is acting downwards due to the entire weight of the building is not producing enough pressure on the ground. The pressure is minimized by increasing the area, because if a lot of pressure acts on the ground, the building might just sink into the ground. So that is another reason where this lower pressure or greater area helps us. Take another example. You all have seen rail lines, the railway tracks. If you look into the railway tracks closely, you should find that just below the railway tracks, there are certain concrete slabs like this, rectangular in shape. What are these slabs called? These slabs are the sleepers. They are often made of wood, also at times made of concrete. The purpose of this sleeper is that whenever the rails are placed onto the sleepers, or whenever a train is moving over these rails, because of the greater area of the sleepers, the entire weight of the massive trains and engines manages to reduce the pressure that it exerts on the ground. Trains, they have few tons of weight. Add to that all the weight of the passengers or the goods that they are carrying. So it produces enough force. If this area is not increased, if the railway tracks are just simply laid on the ground, what will happen is that due to this enormous force and enormous pressure will act on the ground, and the railway tracks would have collapsed into the ground, it would have sunk in the ground. As a result of this, again we have these strippers with pretty wide bases. Then if you look into the army weapons, the tanks which they use, they also have very wide diameter wheels. Also the wheels have certain chains rattled around them. All of their purpose is to reduce the pressure. You look into the trucks which carry heavy goods, they don't have only 4 wheels like our normal vehicles or buses. Often they have 8, 12, even 16 wheels. The reason is they carry enormous amount of goods, which is an enormous weight. Increasing the number of wheels, what happens is the pressure that the truck or the entire weight of the goods exerts on the ground, that decreases. So all of this ultimately comes as application of this simple formula, force by area. When you want to decrease the pressure, you increase the area or reduce the force, and when you want to increase the pressure, you decrease the area or increase the force. So next we will be doing this, studying this area of liquid pressure. Suppose you have a glass like this which is filled with water up to this level. So in which direction is the water exerting the pressure? Well, the water is exerting pressure on the walls of the glass. It is also exerting pressure below at the base of the glass. Water, or for that matter any kind of liquid or fluid, they exert pressure uniformly in all directions. The pressure that it exerts in the sideways direction, that is towards the walls of the container, which is the glass in this case, that particular pressure is known as manometer. It is measured by a manometer. That particular pressure is called lateral pressure. And you can measure the liquid pressure that is acting on any kind of surface by using a manometer. We will be coming to this, but remember, just because I am using the word liquid here, it does not mean that this pressure is limited to liquids only. In case you have a gas balloon like this and there are molecules of gas inside the balloon, even these molecules will exert pressure onto the walls of the balloon. As a result, if you blow too much air into a balloon, you often find that it bursts. So the reason is due to the pressure of the air that the molecules are exerting on the walls of the balloon, or whatever material the balloon is made of, it makes it burst. So lateral pressure is acting for all kind of fluids. Now we can measure this kind of liquid pressure by using a device which is known as manometer. So how does a manometer look roughly? So it's something like this. There is a kind of a wooden base. Onto this base, around the middle portion, you will find a scale. The scale is graduated. There are proper markings starting from 0 all the way, say 100 centimeters. And then surrounding this scale, there is a kind of a U-tube. Why it is called U-tube? Because of the shape. It looks like the alphabet U. So there is kind of a U-tube surrounding this scale. And what is there at the end of the U-tube? Well, on one of the edges of the U-tube, you will find there is a connection like this which goes on and attaches itself to a rubber membrane. So this is the basic construction. There is a wooden block, there is a scale with proper markings on it, there is a U-tube. By the way, this U-tube is filled with the liquid. It may be water or any other liquid, depends on whose pressure you are trying to measure. And then at one end of the U-tube is free, and the other end of the U-tube, there you will get a kind of connection like this which goes on to attach itself to the rubber membrane. Now what is happening is, due to this, that at this rubber membrane, the air molecules of the surrounding atmosphere, they come and heat, and as a result what they do is they exert a pressure onto the rubber membrane. because of this pressure that is getting exerted, the air molecules along this path, they also go on and exert the pressure here onto the free surface of the water or the liquid that whose pressure you are measuring. So this is what happens. The liquid, say initially it was at this height. Due to the pressure of the air molecules, it gets depressed and goes down here. And as a result, the surplus liquid, which was say up initially at this height, it goes on and moves up to this side. So what we find is that between the final state and between the initial state, there is a height difference h between the two arms of the U-tube. And from here you can find out how much pressure is acting on this rubber membrane. Actually there is a formula which is given as something called h rho g, where h is this height difference, g is the acceleration due to gravity, and rho is the density of this particular liquid that you are using. So just by using this formula you can find out how much pressure is acting here. And this is one of the ways in which you can measure liquid pressure, manometer. So for a manometer, what you need to study is, number one, you need to know how it works. Number two, you need to know its construction. And finally, number three, you should practice the diagram for the manometer. It is often asked in the questions.